You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Hello and welcome.
It's okay. You can do an introduction to this. Yes, you know
Is this how we do Watcher's Diary?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Who knows? This is our third or fourth Watcher's Diary.
Third Watcher's Diary. Star date April 17th.
Wow. What do you have in front of you?
25.
Oh, it is April 17th. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying it began on April 17th. And in my mind, that also made complete sense as a time far, far from now. Jenny, what I was going to tell you before you do the introduction to this Watcher's Diary is that I am at a point of sleep deprivation where I yesterday was standing in my kitchen holding a glass of water and my vitamins, and I took the sip out of my vitamin jar. So that's the current status update. Almost 9-week-old baby. I'm drinking vitamins at this point.
Drink the vitamins.
Take water once a day.
Yeah. I'm at the point of just sort of addledness where I've begun calling Frank Aldrich and Aldrich Frank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My mom was kind of in that phase, not with a pet, but my mom has 7 sisters. And so when we were growing up, my mom would go through at least 4 sister names before she got to ours, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Teresa, Regina, Joanne, Lori, Kristin. Just shuffle through. Anyway, why don't you do an intro for the new folks, the folks who have just found us and who are like, what the hell is this podcast?
Welcome to another installment of the Watcher's Diary. The third installment, to be precise. This is where we take copious notes and write in the margins.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say it's fair to say that these are the margin notes that accompany and complement the main feed regular episodes? The
Buffering the Vampire Slayer Codex is annotated with these notes in the margin. Yes, I would say that.
Yeah, but we are going to be very, very strict about not allowing any prophecy of any kind within
the note in the margin
walls.
Next to the prophecy would be prophecy actually much more complicated than seems.
Yeah. Prophecy may be self-fulfilling.
Yeah, this is a place where we talk about things that we can't fit in the main episodic coverage, namely your incredible emails and also your thoughts on what was Dawn doing. So we say, not that we never say if you're new to the pod, but I do feel like since our book was released into the world on April 8th, and this episode is going live just like a week and a half later, you may be stumbling upon this for the first time, us for the first time in rare form.
Kristin's very optimistic about this kind of thing. Kristin's like, surely new people will be coming to the podcast in droves now that our book is out. And I'm like, surely people will be deleting and unsubscribing in protest.
Well, and that's a great introduction to who we are. How we occupy space here in the pod feed. But if you're new,
Kristin's like, you're welcome, and Jenny's like, I'm sorry.
If you are new, please know that we try to think about what Dawn Summers was doing in every episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where she was not yet forged from a mystical key. But of course, the monks have forged the memories. So we are working together as a team here, and mostly our listeners drive the conversation, thinking about what tiny 10 to 11-year-old Dawn was doing in season 1, and we'll continue until Dawn is made flesh for real in the Buffyverse. But all that to say, we have some surprising no one, Jenny. We have some incredible fucking emails that I would love to share with you.
And I'd love to hear them.
Okay. I'm going to give you a choice, okay? There's some CPR information, vampires and CPR. There's a lot of feelings on what musical instrument Angel plays.
Okay.
And we also have, and this is not all, this is just a sampler platter for you to choose from. There's also an email where the subject line is flails and maces. So I'm going to let you choose where we begin today's journey into the most magical place in the world, which is our email inbox.
Okay. I feel like the order you said them in feels
good to you.
like an intuitive, solid flow.
Okay. Well, I'm going to just give you information about CPR. Information
ready.
neither you nor I knew. A lot of folks really...
Doctors Kristin Russo, MD, and Jenny Owen Young's MD somehow out of the loop on how CPR works and what air is.
Yeah. I was like, well, we breathe in oxygen, but I know we don't breathe out oxygen. Fucking insert buzzer noise for the wrong answer. We do. We only take in a certain amount of, we take in oxygen and we only keep a certain amount of that oxygen, basically. So when we exhale, there is still oxygen. I'm not lying when I say that we got no less than 10 emails about CPR. Some of them really wanting to encourage our listenership in general to get educated on CPR. It's a skill you may need, and there are courses available to you locally. Please learn how to do CPR. And never forget, Staying Alive is a great song to remember how to do the chest compressions. Huh, 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 huh. Also, now I probably just ignited 50 new emails that are like, actually, don't do that. So, disclaimer, don't listen to anything I tell you about fucking CPR. I'm not a doctor, no matter what I say in other fucking episodes, okay? I'm reading Liz's email from Rhode Island, 1 of 10, to give you some more details on CPR. Because it contains some kind of medical details that I love. Normal room air contains about 21% oxygen. Fact that I did not know. That's what you normally breathe in. Normal room air contains very low levels of carbon dioxide. I had to look up the exact percentage, but it's generally around 0.04%. Once you breathe in, your lungs perform a neat little gas exchange, extracting oxygen from the air you breathed in and excreting excess carbon dioxide your body needs to get rid of. So when you exhale, the air that comes out only contains roughly 16% oxygen and about 4% carbon dioxide. Hell, math. You know what I mean? So when you are doing CPR, you're giving, in this, we're talking about Buffy, so it's the dead person, but I think normally maybe not a dead person is getting CPR. Mm-hmm. When you are doing CPR, you're giving the person less oxygen and more carbon dioxide than the room air, which isn't ideal, but it is still better than the alternative, which is not breathing at all. Now, since Angel's heart is not beating and his lungs are not functional and therefore not exchanging gases, if he were to give a person CPR, he would blow air into their body that was equivalent to room air, 21% oxygen and only 0.04% carbon dioxide, which would make Angel's CPR even more effective, assuming he's physically capable of blowing air out of his mouth, which why
But Kristin, we know that one thing Angel definitely can't do is breathe.
Yeah, Liz says his best bet for atoning for his past sins would actually be to get a job with 911 as an EMT and go around giving wildly effective CPR to everybody.
That's the spinoff we deserve.
So... Thank you, Liz.
Angel EMT.
Yeah. Thank you, Liz, for everything that you sent us and for all of the other emails that we got giving various versions of that information.
Wow.
I don't even know where to begin with the instruments. There's a lot of them. Okay.
Did we hypothesize maybe that Angel played the fiddle?
I think we actually, who knows? Stop asking questions about what we've said in the past, Jenny. You know that we never know what the answer is.
I know, well, I thought maybe an email that we received would have began. Although you posited,
I think we talked about piano and violin.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I've got two that are of particular length, but I'm going to start with Alice's. Alice writes in and says, Angel plays the cello, no question. Here's the 3, because I told everybody to show their work, which was really encouraging some of the emails that I got. So Alice's work that's shown is a little shorter than some of the others, but very effective. 1, cellos sound very, very broody. 2, cellos are one of the larger and more flammable instruments, and we know how much Angel loves, quote, playing with fire. 3, Angel theme song, that's Angel playing. Didn't you know?
Oh, wow. I love that picture. Sorry, I'm sick.
Okay, so then Carl, to your fiddle of it all, I'm glad you said that, because Carl wrote in and said, I really feel that you overlooked Angel's Irishness in speculating on what instruments he would play. I don't see him at a piano. There you go, Jenny. We did say piano. We know he's even sentimental in a perverse way when he's Angelus, so I think he'd still be drawn to the sounds of his youth. Maybe Liam would have been too feckless. Also, I read this email simply to say feckless to study an instrument, but he could probably squeak out a tune on a tin flute or even a squeeze box / concertina. And Boreanaz would look hilarious playing that. If he did play something more elaborate, it might have been fiddle, for which brooding purposes Angel could have expanded to classical violin, as you said. And harp, yes, but Celtic harp. Maybe even some yearning Uilleann pipes. How do you say that, Jenny? Do you know? Uilleann pipes.
I don't know.
The Uilleann pipes. I'm trying to do an Irish accent. I need Joanna. Joanna! Carl closes the email. Don't take the Irish out of the boy. Howling out, Carl.
While we're there, why not the bouzouki?
Ooh, why not the bouzouki, as I always say? That's actually...
You always say that.
Jenny, can you put that in the document called the title of our next book?
Why not the bouzouki?
Why not the bouzouki?
Picture Angel on tour with Celtic Woman.
What is Celtic Woman?
I'm sorry. Hang on a second. I'm so sorry, Kristin. I'm just going to send you something very important right now in the chat. And maybe everyone could queue up the SNL sketch Celtic Woman and watch along with Kristin right now.
I promise to link it in the show notes.
Okay.
Wow. I'm sorry. The Celtic Woman, the Lion King for Karens, is really a line.
Okay, so now do you know what Celtic Woman is? You recognize the vibe?
I love it. Angel would fucking love it. He would pretend he hated it, but he would fucking love it.
Yeah. Sweet Home Alabama, Erin go Bragh.
Yeah. Incredible. I'm so glad that I didn't know what Celtic Woman was, so that folks who also didn't know get to now know. This is
based on a real thing, though, a real like compilation series and global tour phenomenon along the same lines, I guess, as Riverdance. You know, like one of those performing arts center things for your mom and her book club friends. God. For Joyce and Pat.
Jenny, I have 2 more emails on what would Angel play. I had more than this. I curated for us, and this one is shown the most work. Okay, it's second.
I'm ready.
It's the penultimate. What instrument would Angel play? Email, and it is from Oriana. Oriana, I don't know if I'm saying your name correctly, but I hope I am. Okay. You asked us to show our work. Well, don't tempt me with a good time. Buckle in. My original thought was piano. Angel, the ensouled vampire living in the late 90s, feels peak pianist. He would have been able to see several famous pianists. Tchaikovsky's time in London overlaps with the time period that Angelus, Darla, Drusilla, and eventually Spike were all in London between 1860 and 1888. Beethoven and the foursome could have all been in the Austria-Prussian area around the same time. Beethoven was certainly there, and we have records of Angel meeting the Beast in Prussia in 1789. Beethoven was in Vienna around this time and performing publicly, with First Symphony being premiered in 1800.
Oh my God.
We have a gap in Angelus locations until around 1838, so he easily could have seen him. During this period, Johannes Brahms was also in Vienna and playing publicly.
Whoa.
Mozart was on tour playing as a child prodigy in the mid-1700s, playing London and Paris during this time period. Daniel begins his hunt of Angelus and Darla in 1764, chasing them around Europe. Mozart was on tour from 62 to 73, making it entirely possible that they witnessed him as well. Chopin made a final public concert in London in 1848. Though there's no clear indication that Angelus and Darla were in London at that time, they were in Dublin in 1838 and London by 1860, making it possible. Further, this is no joke. Like, buckle in, and this is like a clear example of every time we say, like, our listeners write in some wildly incredible emails. Given that Angel had a love of the ballet, in particular Giselle, it is not out of pocket that Angelus would also want to witness piano concerts. His first view of the Giselle ballet was in 1890, 8 years prior to the Calderash curse, thus indicating that even without a soul, Angelus appreciated a beautiful symphony. There's also a case for him being proficient in the violin, flute, Uilleann pipes. I'm sorry, they're here again, but they are the Irish bagpipes or the Celtic harp. Liam, born in 1727 in Galway, was born into an, at minimum, upper-middle-class family. His father was a linen and silk merchant. The average merchant of these types of wares in 1700s Ireland made anywhere from 200 to 600 pounds per year, with some making much more than that. During that time period, 400 pounds annually was enough to carry a large household with several staff members. The standard of living was also high for these families. Angel himself spoke to Buffy about his distaste of the noble women that he knew as Liam. Halloween, season 2, episode 6. Even though he also describes trying to seduce the family's one and only housemaid, the fact that they had one puts the family in a higher living category than just your average family.
Mm-hmm.
Given a rather noble adjacent upbringing, young Liam was most likely made to learn at least one instrument. If Liam was given a formal education and given Angel's love of literature and his family's standing, this is highly likely that he was taught an instrument. Not to mention his father's disgust at him wasting his life implies that he put quite a lot of time, money, and effort into making his son the best version of himself, which would have included education. The violin was introduced to Ireland in the 1700s, making it a popular choice. While the flute and the bagpipes were also popular, given his upper-class status, the violin is the most likely candidate. My conclusion is that as Liam, he was taught to play the violin, but he didn't put quite enough effort into it as a small act of defiance towards his father at even a young age. His love of music, however, did not wane. After his curse, the melancholy and torment that would have fitted well with the piano, especially with the composers of great, who often had their own melancholia and used that in their work. It's possible that Angel did not learn the piano until well into the 20th century, but my guess would be that Angel of 1997 could sit at anyone's piano and play several pieces from memory, including those from Giselle, Swan Lake, and Sleeping Beauty.
Wow.
So, Oriana, that is most of Oriana's work. It's not even all of it, but it is absolutely incredible. It's like a full college level paper on why piano. Here are my reasons. This is top level. Absolutely incredible. Thank you, Oriana. And if I'm mispronouncing your name, I've now mispronounced it 27 times. Okay, I have one more. I hope folks are enjoying this as much as I have enjoyed this. This one is from Robin. Subject is Angel is clearly a saxophone player.
Whoa, bold.
This is Robin's work. Venetian blinds, check. Shadows, check. Strange indoor breezes on curtains, check. Shirtless at times, Check. Oddly decorated dark apartment? Check. A successfully reinsold Angelus would not have killed Jenny Calendar in the school window, but would have instead played a soulful tune, trench billowing behind him in that same window. Incredible. The 80s, 90s music video work was shown in this email.
Yeah, I'm seeing Kenny G.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't see Kenny G?
I was once on a flight with Kenny G, and everyone was abuzz because it was like, I think it was a Delta flight, and Kenny G had previously he was an ambassador, and there was like a widely reported news story where he was like on a Delta flight and then like got up and like serenaded people, like played saxophone down the aisle. So me and the person I was traveling with, we were like, holy shit, is it about to happen? Are we about to get serenaded by Kenny G on this flight? But it did not happen.
Can't be every flight. You know, you got to keep it special.
I know.
Kenny G serenading a flight is like something that would be in a music video. You know?
For sure.
Like that. Maybe they were filming a music video on that flight.
You've probably heard us singing OneSkin's praises by now. Their OS1 peptide has been transforming our skin here at Buffering the Vampire Slayer for a while. I am thrilled to report they now have a new scalp serum, OS1 Hair. You may be wondering, why would a skincare company create a scalp treatment? Well, because of course, scalp is skin, and just like the rest of your body, it experiences cellular aging. But instead of wrinkles, it messes with your hair follicles and natural growth cycle, which leads to hair loss and thinning. OS1 Hair is the first scalp serum powered by OneSkin's OS1 peptide, which targets those aging cells. And it's scientifically proven to help your hair cells do what they're meant to do: grow fuller, denser, healthier hair. I've loved every OneSkin product I've ever used, and I'm so stoked that they are now focusing on hair. My hair is very important to me. I don't know if that's because I'm a Leo rising or what, but it's important to me that my hair is its absolute healthiest, and OneSkin's mission to optimize the skin's biology at the cellular level is going to impact that powerfully. Founded and led by an all-woman team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS1 peptide. Get 15% off with code BUFFERING at oneskin.co. That's 15% off at oneskin.co with code BUFFERING. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and let them know we sent you. Invest in the health and longevity of your skin and scalp with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you.
Jenny, are you ready for flails and maces? Are you ready to turn the corner from cellos and saxophones to flails and maces?
Kristin, it's all I want. Do we hear from a weapons expert?
So the email itself will begin with an answer. Joe writes in, I'm not a weapons expert, but a weapons enthusiast and collector. My mother, my mother began collecting weapons when I was a child.
What? My favorite sentence.
I know, mine too. And I continued the tradition. You're going to love the next sentence too, Jenny. I would suggest Jenny hardly needs a weapons expert, as she's been consistently correct with most weapon descriptions thus far in the podcast.
Well, if it isn't Jenny Owen Young's PhD of medieval weaponsology.
Jenny the Enthusor can be amended to also include Jenny the Weapons Enthusor.
Yes.
A flail is a weapon with a shaft connected to the head by a chain or a rope. Flails were first used as tools by farmers for threshing, when you beat grain to separate the grain from the husk, and they were later modified for use as weapons.
Wow.
A mace is a weapon with a solid shaft and a weighted end. Jenny, I believe this is all. You were correct in all of your descriptions.
Hell yeah.
The types and diversity of maces are so wide-ranging that Joe says he won't waste our time with them. But in active combat, particularly European medieval combat, variations of the mace were quite common. And contrary to cinema, the flail was very rare. The flail must be swung, and after striking or missing a target, it tends to bounce around, and it's difficult to regain control of it.
Yeah.
So by the time you've prepared yourself for a second swing, you've probably eaten a sword, says Joe.
Honestly, sounds like the crossbow of melee weapons to me.
Oh my God, I'm so
Why
excited
bother?
to tell you that don't worry, Joe does get to crossbows.
Yes.
The mace, on the other hand, is easily controlled, and so in many instances, it could be more effective than a sword in combat where the assailants were heavily armored. Using a mace did more devastating bludgeoning damage to infantry and chainmail, where a sword would glance off with less of an impact, unable to cut. Mm-hmm. Jenny is also correct in that a morning star technically describes the head style of the weapon, implying spikes. But a spiked mace is often just referred to as a morning star because of how uncommon flails were versus a blunt or flanged mace, which might have just been referred to as a mace.
Hell yeah.
Final sentence
You
from
had
Joe.
me at flanged, Joe.
Final sentence from Joe. I won't bore you with the lengthy and diverse history of maces, but will quickly say owning both single-handed crossbow and longbows, in all caps, Joe has only used all caps for the following. Thank you, Jenny. Yes, crossbows are stupid. Thanks, comma, Joe.
Yes. Okay. Wow. I'm so pleased. Joe, welcome to the podcast. You rock. That rocked. I loved it. And I'm full of joy. I feel wise.
And also, Jenny,
such good stuff.
Joe was at your Iron Horse show because he says he bought the Avalanche CD at the Iron Horse show, and it's now his son's favorite of all CDs. So
respectful regards to your son, Joe Jr.,
who's probably also becoming a weapons.
Oh my gosh! Should I
enthusiast.
start collecting weapons so that Aldrich could continue the tradition?
I feel
and
like
then he could one day write an email to his favorite podcast saying, "My mother began collecting weapons, and I carried on the tradition."
And I think he could say my mother's really because Jess has a
Jess
sword.
has knives everywhere.
Yeah, and also some
There,
swords.
Jess. Our house is riddled with knives. She's got a sword. She got me a sword. We're ready to go.
Wow, it's just delightful. Just not enough time for all the emails in these Watcher's Diaries, but I do want to let you know, Jenny, that a lot of folks wrote in to your question about the painting hanging in Giles's office. There's one, and I'm not going to put this link in the show notes because I'm going to send it to you because you might want to bid on it on eBay from Jolene. So thank you, Jolene, for that link. I'll send it to Jenny and no one else.
Thanks, Jolene.
And then I just do want to give a shout out to Genevieve, who wrote an email including a Reddit post and also 5 links to similar, more easily attainable full moon landscapes with full moons for you. So I can share those in the show notes for folks also like Jenny looking for that. And those seem a little more easy to get. But the eBay link from Jolene, that's only going to Jenny. So first dibs. First dibs as the co-host of Buffering the Vampire Slayer.
All right. For those of you who were wondering, during the events of Out of Mind, Out of Sight, what was Dawn doing? Wonder no more. Kristin with an I, no relation, is here to tell us.
Was she at the mall? Was she at ballet? Was she drawn on a trapper keeper all day? Was she nursing a crush on a boy from PE? Was she writing it all down in her diary? What was Dawn doing? What was Dawn doing? What was Dawn doing? What was Dawn doing?
Dawn is in the kitchen, mixing different varieties of cereal into a single bowl. Walking to the fridge for milk, she passes Buffy's bag on the floor and does a double take. A pointy piece of wood? A literal mace? The items make Dawn think of the gigantic container of communion wafers in that old chest in Buffy's room. At school, Dawn notices a short girl in her class, Melinda, for the first time. Melinda also lives on Ravello Drive. Melinda is hanging around Kirsty and her friends, who vacillate between ignoring her and talking about her like she's not even there. A rejected Melinda sulks toward the bathroom, and Dawn, who's been in Melinda's shoes, follows but discovers no one's inside. That night, Buffy reminisces with Dawn about winning Spring Fling Queen in LA. Dawn tells Buffy about Melinda disappearing and can tell Buffy's interested. The next day, Dawn spots Melinda sitting alone at lunch. She starts walking over to her, but Melinda disappears before her very eyes. In class, Dawn again sees Melinda and finally gets to talk to her. Melinda confesses she thinks she's disappearing, so Dawn agrees to help her. They spend the rest of the day together, waiting for her to disappear, but it never happens. When Dawn gets home, Buffy is out late helping her friend Cordelia with her May Queen dress. She darts upstairs to Buffy's room, confirms the coast is clear, and sneaks behind Buffy's closed door. Just as she lifts up the false top on the old chest, the front door opens and Buffy's home. Buffy checks on Dawn before bed, asking her again about the girl who disappeared in the bathroom. Dawn explains she must have been seeing things, but tells Buffy how she spent the day with her new friend and neighbor. Buffy tells Dawn that she's glad she reached out to Melinda. When she's sure Buffy's gone, she pulls out the diary she was concealing under the blankets and cracks it open. ...
To be continued.
That's right.
Thank you, Kristin with an I, not me. Thank you, Jenny. That's the first What Was Dawn Doing that you read to our listeners, and you did a beautiful job.
It's my joy, honor, and privilege.
So we're going to have another. I'm on the fence, actually, Jenny. So these are called Watcher's Diaries, and we're going to have LaToya Ferguson, producer, special agent. The titles, no limits for LaToya, inside of a Watcher's Diary. But then I thought, should we call minisodes with LaToya simply LaToya's Lair? Should it just become a universal title for LaToya episodes?
This is a great question.
Yeah, we'll have to ponder on it. But LaToya will be with us before we come back with season 2. And I do want to say, we know when we're coming back with season 2. Well, at least I know. Jenny, do you know?
May 7th?
Yeah. Ding, 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 ding. We have, in case you don't know, we have a live event in Boston on April 29th, and we'll be at least putting up some selections from that in the feed. We'll have a special episode with LaToya, sort of recapping some of LaToya's big thoughts from season 1. And after those little mini-sodes, we will lily pad across those mini-sodes to the premiere of season 2 on May 7th. And all of the information about our production will be on our calendar, bufferingcast.com. Just click on events and you'll be able to see all of those details. Jenny, I have a couple quick ones that I could pepper in at the end here.
I'd love that.
Great. This email from Tiffany was really interesting to me. So we were talking in Prophecy Girl. Oh, also for those of you who are like, but what the fuck was Dawn doing in Prophecy Girl? We'll talk about that when we hang with LaToya. So don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Tiffany wrote in about something that we said on Prophecy Girl about the scene where Willow walks in and the pigs are dancing, the cartoon pigs are dancing, but there's this like sort of awful scene of carnage. Yeah. And Tiffany says, what if the choice of cartoon was deliberate? It was cartoon pigs on the TV. The school mascot, R.I.P. Herbert, was a pig. Am I completely off base for thinking that there's a correlation between the cartoon pigs and the students, the Sunnydale Razorbacks? Ha ha ha!
Entirely possible.
I love that theory. And then the last thing that I want, and I haven't checked this, but I'm really hoping that it's correct. Ross writes in from Birmingham in the UK. Birmingham. And says, I just wanted to write in about something I noticed during my recent watch of Prophecy Girl. I don't think you noticed it. You're correct, Ross. We did not. Now, I think I noticed because I could be wrong, but I'm almost certain that around 22 minutes and 23 seconds in the episode, when Buffy is talking to Willow on her bed in her room, you will notice in the background, just behind Buffy's head, Willow has a board on the wall with a collage of pictures on it. If you look just to the right of Buffy's head, you should notice a beautiful mugshot of none other than Fluky, a.k.a. Fluke Man from the X-Files second season, which, considering you also cover that show, I thought might be of some interest. Ross has included a picture, which they believe is the exact same image used in the scene on the board. Please, please tell me you see it too, and it's not all in my head. Jenny, I want to let you know that I pulled up Prophecy Girl and it was at 22:18. And it is. You're not seeing things. It definitely is. Hold on, I'm gonna share my screen with Jenny.
Yes, who else could that be but Fluky?
Yeah, and so Ross sent, and Jenny, I just sent it to you, the promotion, the photo, or the poster rather.
Oh, yeah.
It is definitely Fluky. Definitely Fluky. So Willow Rosenberg, you heard it here first, thanks to Ross. Canonically a fan of the X-Files. Willow watching the X-Files. How fucking Inception is that? And we're covering the show that Willow is watching, but also the show that Willow is in.
Yeah, she's like redheads in STEM.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
In the X-Files, Special Agent Dana Scully is only, a handful of years older than... God.
Yeah, what is she, 24, 23, 24? Willow going on for a career in STEM? Maybe. Imagine a witch in STEM. That makes so much sense, you know? All right, Jenny.
No. Scully's 29 at the start of X-Files, but
Gillian Anderson.
Gillian Anderson was actually like 24, I
24. Think. Okay. Jenny, these Watcher's Diaries are supposed to be, and they will, some of them will be, like 15 to 20 minutes long. It's just that we get these piles of amazing emails, and I don't know how I'm supposed to choose, so I'm doing my best, okay?
I think you're doing great, and I think everybody who's writing in is doing great, and I think the real takeaway for me this episode, courtesy of Joe, is that I'm doing great.
You are doing great, Jenny. Weapons expert, Jenny Owen Youngs.
I can't believe it.
Pod theologian and weapons expert, Jenny Owen Youngs. They go together, really. The study of religion, the study of weaponry. That they make sense hand in hand.
Oh, totally. It's really making me feel a lot better. Like the time that I spent when I went to medieval times as a child and you could pay an extra $1. Wow, this is probably really, I would be chilled to my bone to see what it would cost now to do this extra thing at medieval times where you go through the torture chamber and you see all the torture devices. And then I went back to school the next day and I was like, anyway, the rack and the Iron Maiden. And then hanging, drawing, and quartering is where and I'm sure that everyone I went to school with was like hoping I would move.
I don't
away.
know. That seems like something that kids would be real into, you know?
I feel like I was more into it than anyone I told about it.
Well, Jenny,
You know
I think that is how you get the title, Jenny the Enthusor, from birth.
Okay. That's true.
Jenny the Enthusor. All right. Let's end here. Because we must end at some point. And reminder, we will be back in your ears with. We also have, it feels like the first time episode, the final installment of the 3 that were chosen, covering Fast and the Furious. You're welcome. Another mini-sode with LaToya. Perhaps a little taste of our Boston event, which is now virtually. You can attend virtually. So if you're not in New England, you can now tune into that show, and it's like $5. So come join us virtually if you can't join us in person.
Yes.
And then May 7th, mark it on your calendars. We shall return with season 2.
And then since we said it loud and proud on socials, early June, the return of the X-Files.
Yeah. Let's fucking go. Goo 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 ga ga ga. We don't howl out, right? No. We sign off our diary. We sign off our diary.
Until next time.
Until next diary.
The signing off.
The sound of a very cheap lock that can easily be broken, clicking shut.
Yes.
Hey folks, we're the hosts of Comic Sans, the podcast about comics for those who are sans knowledge. I'm Yen, a reader, writer, liver, and breather of comic books.
And I'm Nat. I used to know absolutely nothing about comics, but now...
So actually, I've got a quiz for you.
I still have a lot to learn about comics.
Thank you. On Comic Sans, I make Nat read some of my favorite works in the medium, including Saga, Daredevil, and the Flintstones.
And Yen talks about what makes that comic special. Sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's...
Paneling, gutters, page turns, colorings, lettering, semiotics, juxtaposition.
Okay, Professor, save it for the episodes.
You can listen to Comic Sans on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You can binge our first 2 seasons. That's over 20 episodes on 20 different comics.
And we just launched Season 3, new episodes every 2 weeks.